شيخ المنديل أنفع؟
نعم بس المنديل عادي.
لا أنفع؟
لا العرق.
So today we have Ustadh Khalid Hassan, who's come from London to Portsmouth to deliver a talk on seeking knowledge and Iman, inshallah. So the Sheikh is a graduate from Hassan University in Riyadh. So inshallah we'll be some
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. جزاكم الله خير everyone. Number one, thank you to the masjid. Thank you to the masjid for allowing us last minute to give this talk. So I just want to number one say thank you to the masjid for this, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help them with their appeal and their campaign, with what they're, with what they're doing. So inshallah ta'ala, may Allah first and foremost reward the management of the masjid who allowed us to come here in very short notice. So inshallah ta'ala, what we're going to be speaking about briefly is Iman and knowledge. So knowledge and Iman. So, as we all know, we're all Muslims here, we all have Iman in the religion of Islam, we believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we believe in His commands, we believe in what He sent to us. And regarding Iman, the ulama speak about this word Iman and Islam. Iman and Islam. That Iman can mean Islam and Islam can mean Iman when they're said separately, okay? When they're said separately, they mean the same thing, and when they're mentioned together, they mean two different things, okay? إذا اجتمعا تفرقا, وإذا تفرقا اجتمعا, as the ulama say. So, for example, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, for example, speaks about, He guides them to al-Iman in the Quran, for example, okay? I.e., He has guided the Muslims to al-Islam. And also, if a person was to say, for example, my Islam is weak, he means my Iman is weak. So there are times when Iman and Islam can mean the same thing, i.e., if they're mentioned separate from one another. However, when they're mentioned together, they mean two different things. Now, I know this from the hadith of Jibreel, when the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was with his companions, the famous hadith of Umar, and you can find it in Sahih Muslim, or you can find it in, for example, the 40 hadith of Imam Nawawi or something like that, the second hadith. So, for example, the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was sitting, and Umar was narrating the story, and he said, بينما نحن جلوس عند رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم ذات يوم. One day we sit with the Messenger of Allah صلى الله عليه وسلم, one day, okay, one particular day. And then he said, إذ طلع علينا رجل شديد بياض الثياب شديد السواد الشعر. That a person came from in the horizon, in the distance. إذ طلع علينا رجل. So, if you look at the wording of Umar, he didn't say إذ أتانا رجل or إذ جاء رجل. He said طلع علينا رجل. The same way, for example, and I'll get to why this word طلوع or طلع means you can describe the situation. When we say, or when a person speaks Arabic, but anyone who learns Arabic, when you say the sun comes up, you say طلوع الشمس, meaning it comes up gradually. So إذ طلع علينا رجل, a man came. Gradually he came closer to us. We could see him in the horizon. شديد بياض الثياب. His throat was completely white. شديد السواد الشعر. And his hair was very black. Anyone who comes from a desert environment or an environment where there isn't a lot of concrete and the place isn't developed, you'll know that if you're in the desert for a day or two, for a white thobe, okay, or for a white jalabiya, for anything that you're wearing that is white, or shalwa, khamis, or whatever it is, if you're to wear something which is purely white and you're traveling, it's a strange thing. Eventually it will become brown or colored because of you're traveling with a camel, you're traveling, through the desert. So it's going to affect your clothing. You're sweating, it's hot. اطلع علينا رجل شديد بياض الثياب شديد السواد الشعري. Even his hair was extremely black. He wasn't disheveled, it wasn't filled with like dust or anything. And then Umar said, لا يرى عليه أثر السفر. On this particular man, there was no sign of travel. There was no sign of this man ever traveling. So he just came out of nowhere. Where did this man come from? ولا يعرفه منا أحد. None of us knew who he was. Very mysterious man. Okay? So then, لا يعرفه حتى جلس إلى النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. Until he sat with the Messenger of Allah صلى الله عليه وسلم. He sat down with him. Okay? فأسند ركبتيه إلى ركبتيه. He put his knees right next to the Messenger of Allah صلى الله عليه وسلم's knees, sat right next to him. Okay? ووضع كفيه على فخذيه. And then he put his kaf is like this, the palm of his hand, على فخذيه, on the thigh of the Messenger of Allah صلى الله عليه وسلم. And then he said, يا محمد, O Muhammad, أخبرني عن الإسلام. Tell me about al-Islam. This was a very simple question. And then the Messenger of Allah صلى الله عليه وسلم said, الإسلام أن تشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأن محمد رسول الله, is to testify that no good worthy worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم is his messenger. وتقيم الصلاة, for you to establish the prayer. وتؤتي الزكاة, and to give the zakat, or وتؤتي الزكاة. وتصوم رمضان, and to fast in the month of Ramadan. وتحج البيت إن استطعت إليه السبيل, for you to make hajj to the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala if you're able to do it. And then out of nowhere, what did the man say? قال صدقت. He said, you told the truth. And then Umar, the companions were amazed. They said, فعجبنا له. We were amazed at what this man is saying. فعجبنا له. We were amazed. How can you're saying صدقت for Sallallahu. And then what did Umar say? يسأله ويصدقه. He's asking the Messenger of Allah a question, and then he's saying to him, you told the truth. This is very strange. Imagine that. You're with the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Somebody comes to ask you a question, and then you say to him, you're correct. Imagine now, for example, all of you here, or many of you here, you're in university. Imagine if you ask your professor a question, you're an undergraduate student, and you're asking your professor a question that a PhD holder will ask. He answers the question, you say, you're right. The professor's going to say, of course I'm right. Do you understand? It's very strange. So then the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he said, فَأَخْبِرْنِي عَنِ الْإِيمَانِ. Tell us about Iman. So, like I said just before, Islam was the 5 pillars. For you to believe in Allah, okay, for you to pray, for you to fast, for you to go to Hajj, for you to give zakat. These are, if you like, actions of the limbs. And then the Prophet ﷺ, then the man said, tell us about Iman. And Iman is obviously faith in the heart. And the Prophet ﷺ, Al-Iman huwa an tu'mina billahi, is for a person to believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, wa malaikatihi, and his angels, wa kutubihi, and his books, wa rusuli, and his messengers, wal yawm al-akhir, and for you to believe in the last day, i.e. yawm al-qiyamah, wa an tu'mina bil qadri khayrihi wa sharrihi, and for you to believe in destiny. Things were always going to happen the way they were going to be. Destiny. خَيْرِهِ وَشَرِهِ. The good of it and the bad of it. Because life is not easy. A person can go through difficult times, a person can go through easy times. So when you go through the good times, a person خَيْرِهِ, we accept it. And then when we go through difficult times, وَشَرِهِ, difficult times, we accept it. So this is Iman. Iman is to believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, His angels, His messengers, and things like that. But, as we know, when we're speaking about our Iman, generally speaking, we're speaking about the actions of the heart, generally speaking. So if a person has high Iman, then the actions of the heart will have an effect on their limbs. If you have high Iman, you're going to pray on time. If you have high Iman, you're going to stay away from haram. If you have high Iman, you're not going to do X, Y, Z, which is haram. We all know that, okay? Which is why Prophet ﷺ said, لا يزني زاني حين يزني وهو مؤمن. Person who does zina, who does haram, when he does haram, he doesn't have Iman when he's doing that deed. He doesn't have Iman when he's doing that particular deed. It doesn't mean this person is a kafir, no. This negation is nafyul kamal. It's a negation of perfect Iman, meaning that when you do the sin, perfection of your Iman has gone away. You're still a mu'min, or you still believe in Allah, but perfect Iman is not there. So now the question is, how does a person gain strong Iman, and what's that relation to an everyday kind of Muslim? How can we perfect our Iman to the point where we can stay away from muharramat, haram, we can stay away from bad deeds? Ilm, there's one thing, ilm, to have knowledge, okay, to have knowledge of your religion. When you have knowledge of your religion, then, when you have knowledge of your religion, ilm, okay, when you have ilm, then you can, for example, understand situations that a person with ilm might not understand. You can pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ala al-basira, on clarity. If a person doesn't have ilm, then a person is prone to shubuhat, doubts, shahawat, temptations. So how does ilm allow us to protect our religion and protect our Iman? Number one, a person needs, if we start from ground zero, what is ilm? If I was to ask a definition, what is ilm? What is knowledge? The ulama state that ilm is ma'rifatu shay ala ma hu alayh. For you to understand a particular thing the way it should be understood. Ma'rifatu shay ala ma hu alayh. For a person to understand something properly. If a person doesn't understand something properly, then it's going to be difficult for them to implement something properly. So now when it comes to driving a car, if a person wants to drive a car, if a person does not understand, for example, how to drive, what a car is, does it have a gearbox, can you move it, can you not move it, it's going to be difficult for him to drive. He has to understand what is he going to do. So likewise, when it comes to Islam, we need to understand our religion properly. We need to understand our religion properly. Which is why the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said in the hadith, مَنْ سَلَكَ طَرِيقًا يَلْتَمِسُ بِهِ عِلْمًا سَهَلَ اللَّهُ لَهُ طَرِيقًا إِلَى الْجَنَّةِ. Whoever seeks a path, مَنْ سَلَكَ طَرِيقًا, whoever treads a path, يَلْتَمِسُ بِهِ عِلْمًا, okay, by that he's intended to get ilm, سَهَلَ اللَّهُ لَهُ طَرِيقًا إِلَى الْجَنَّةِ. Allah will make his path to Jannah easy. The question is, what kind of ilm is this? What kind of ilm is this? The ilm that we're talking about, when the ulama say ilm, knowledge, we're talking about knowledge of the sharia, knowledge of halal, knowledge of haram, okay? The Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam reported to, for example, saying in hadith, أَعْلَمُكُمْ بِالْحَلَالِ وَالْحَرَامِ مُعَاذ ibn Jabal. That the most knowledgeable of you all of haram, of halal and haram, what's permissible, what's halal for you, and what's not permissible for you is Mu'adh ibn Jabal. So now when it comes to a daily and everyday Muslim, what should that person know? Number one, that person needs to know who their Lord is, who their Rabb is, who their Lord is. The Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, فَعْلَمْ أَنَّهُ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ. Know that there is no God worthy of worship but Allah. So we need to know who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is, for example. We need to know who we're praying to. We need to know why we're praying to Allah. For example, we need to know why we're here. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran, وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. I've not created mankind or the jinn kind except to worship me. So we know now, for example, that the reason why we're here is to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's the reason why we're here. Once we understand why we're here, we can act accordingly. But when a person doesn't even know why they're here, it's going to be problems. There's going to be problems. Which is why يعني Prophet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also in the Quran, وَلَقَدْ بَعَثْنَا فِي كُلِّ أُمَّةٍ رَسُولًا أَنِ اعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ وَاجْتَنِبُوا الطَّاغُوتَ. We have sent to every single nation, every single group of people, a messenger, a Rasul, أَنِ اعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ, to pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And what else? وَاجْتَنِبُوا الطَّاغُوتَ, to stay away from anything that should not be worshipped, that should not be idolized, any way, shape or form. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent us messages. But now obviously we know that with in our religion, okay, Prophet said, La nabiyya min ba'di, there is no messenger after me. Because with previous nations, you would have a Nabi who was also a Rasul. So a Nabi and a Rasul are two different things. Every Nabi, every Rasul is a Nabi, but not every Nabi is a Rasul. What does that mean? A Rasul is someone who has a message from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and revelation. So a person can be a prophet, but not a messenger. But every messenger is a prophet. So, Ulul Azm min al-Rusul, the 5 major messengers were who? Nuh alayhi salam, Ibrahim alayhi salam, Musa alayhi salam, and Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. These 5 were prophets and messengers. But then, if you look at, for example, Bani Israel, the children of Israel, they had prophets, but they weren't sometimes messengers. So in the time of so when a prophet was alive, or when a messenger was alive, there could be a prophet. An example is Isa ibn Maryam. When Isa ibn Maryam was alive, he was a messenger. There were other prophets alive with him, like Yahya. Yahya was alive. Before Yahya was around, Zakaria was alive. So there were times when several prophets will be alive. What was the need of that prophet? What was that prophet there for? That prophet was there to revive the message of the messenger, to teach the people what they didn't know. So, for example, after Musa alayhi salam, who had the Torah, many prophets came after Musa alayhi salam. Many prophets, okay? But from them, for example, Dawood, Sulaiman, all of these prophets came, okay, after Musa. Now, what was the job of those people, to those messengers, those prophets? Like I said, to teach, to do tajdeed of the religion. In Islam, there's no prophet after the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. There's no prophet. There's no prophet. So, what is our version of these anbiya, of these other people who will come and revive the previous revelation of their messengers? We have ulama, we have scholars. Which is why the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, Al-ulama warathatul anbiya. The scholars are the inheritors of prophets. They don't inherit wealth, they don't inherit land, they don't inherit this, they inherit knowledge. So now, when it comes to us as Muslims, like I said, what do we need to know? Number one, we need to know who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is. He's our Lord, He's our provider, He's our sustainer. We pray to nobody but Him. Okay? وَعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ وَلَا تُشْرِكُوا بِهِ شَيْئًا. To worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and not to worship anything except Him, for example. To pray the salawat. Okay, when I pray my salah, how do I pray my salah? When do I pray my salah, for example? Allah says in the Quran, إِنَّ الصَّلَاةَ كَانَتْ عَلَى الْمُؤْمِنِينَ كِتَابًا مَوْقُوتًا. That salah is a prescribed time. How do we pray? The Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, for example, صَلُّوا كَمَا رَأَيْتُمُونِي أُصَلِّي. Pray the way you see me pray, for example. Okay, when it comes now, for example, to pray, when it comes to leading the salawat, when a group of people who lead us in salah, we go back to what the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said to us. يَأُمُّكُمْ أَقْرَأَكُمْ لِكِتَابِ اللَّهِ. The person who leads you in salah is a person with the what do you call it? With the most knowledge of the Quran, for example. When, for example, somebody does a particular action, what is the result of that particular thing? You need to have knowledge in order to know these things. I'll give you an example. Even in the time of the companions. In the time of the companions, when the Messenger of Allah was alive, sometimes, not every single person, not every companion would have knowledge. So the Messenger of Allah sent one Sahabi out. Khalas, he went out. On a task for the Messenger of Allah, went out to the desert. This Sahabi, he was out in the desert for a few days. He became junub, meaning that he became in a state of ritual impurity. He had, if you like, a wet dream or something like that. He didn't know what to do. The Sahabi, he did not know what to do. So he remembered, if I need to, if I fall into a state of being junub, I need to do tahara, I need to do ghusl. So what did he do? He rolled around in the sand and covered his whole body because he didn't know what to do. He came back to the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and he told the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam what he did. What did the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam do? He didn't rebuke him, he didn't shout at him, he answered in a way with akhlaq. Why? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said about the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, وَإِنَّكَ لَعَلَى خُلْقٍ عَظِيمٍ. You Messenger of Allah, oh Muhammad, you have great manners. So he didn't shout at the person. He said to him, إِنَّمَا يَكْفِيكَ أَن تَقُولَ بِيَدِكَ هَكَذا. All you have to do is this. And he taught him how to do, how to do tayammum. Meaning that if you're out in the desert, all you need to do is tayammum with your hands and your face. You don't need to roll all your body in the sand, for example. Another example of why we need knowledge. What happened? You all know the story. An A'rabi came, a Bedouin person. فَبَالَ فِي طَائِفَةِ الْمَسْجِدِ. He came to the Messenger of Allah. He didn't come to learn from. He didn't come and sit into the circle of Prophet. He didn't read Quran. He didn't do any of that stuff. He came in and he urinated in the masjid, in a corner of the masjid. Came and urinated in the masjid. Okay. And then what? فَزَجَرَهُ النَّاسِ. The people rebuked him. What are you doing? You're coming to the Messenger of Allah and you're urinating. What is this? Prophet said, leave him. And they ordered it to be cleaned with water and things like that. But what we're trying to say is that this person, he couldn't read, he couldn't write. He was an A'rabi. He was an ignorant person. Okay? He was an ignorant person. And then he said in some of the reports, may Allah have rahmah on none of you except for Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, because they all rebuked him. So this is why we need ilm. We need knowledge. Because if we have knowledge, we'll know how to move around in our life. So even today, for example, right now, in the society that we live in, for example, there are many shubuhat, there are many doubts, there are many shahwat, there are many temptations. What's those things that are going to keep you away from these temptations? It's knowledge, it's ilm. But obviously it's not just ilm. It's ilm wal amal. It's knowledge and action. Okay? It's not just, no action at all. Ilm. No, it's knowledge and action. So for example, if a person wants to get married, he does not understand how to get married. How do you go around getting married? If you have no ilm, how can you get married, for example? If you don't know the rights of the wife, you don't know the haqq al-zawja ala zawj, or haqq al-zawj ala zawja, you don't know the rights of your husband upon wife, wife upon husband, how can you get married, for example? So knowledge is very, very important. When there's shiqaq, when there is, for example, separation between the two, how do you make sulh, for example? If different Muslims are fighting one another, if there's issues going on between Muslims, what are we supposed to do? Are we supposed to create more fitna, or are we supposed to bring Muslims together? Allah says in the Quran, وَإِنْ طَائِفَتَانِ مِنَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ اقْتَتَلُوا فَأَصْلِحُوا بَيْنَهُمَا. That if two groups of Muslims fight, do islah between them. for example. So, and you can only do Islah if you have knowledge. When it comes to zakat, for example, paying the zakat at the end of every year, Islamic calendar, how do you pay zakat? Some people are living their entire life, they don't even know that zakat is wajib upon them. They don't have to pay the zakat. Some people live their entire life, they don't know that Hajj is wajib upon them. Okay? Allah says, وَلِلَّهِ عَلَى النَّاسِ حِجُّ الْبَيْتِ مَنِ اسْتَطَاعَ إِلَيْهِ سَبِيلًا. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made it upon the people for them to make Hajj if they have the ability to go to do Hajj. How do you do Hajj? Is Hajj something that you do when you're 70 years old? Or is Hajj something you do when you're young, able-bodied, for example? So when you look at your entire life, ilm is what's going to keep your iman high, because you're going to know what to do in particular situations. And the ilm is also going to help you in your daily life, because it's going to take away, for example, waswas, whispering. A lot of people have issues, for example, even with things like waswas. How many questions do I get asked with people when it comes to doing wudu? Have issues. When it comes to people praying the salawat, they have issues with waswas. Imagine waswas. They think, if I pray my salat, is my salah correct or is it not correct? And then they'll pray again, then they'll do wudu again 20 times, 30 times. I think I broke my wudu, my salah, and then he goes and does wudu again. Even though the Prophet ﷺ, if you have ilm, or if a has ilm, there's a solution. The Prophet ﷺ said, فَلَا يَخْرُجَنَّ حَتَّى يَسْمَعَ صَوْتًا أَوْ يَجِدُ رِيحًا. Okay, if a person is in the prayer and he feels as if something is in his stomach, أَخَرَجَ مِنْهُ شَيْئًا أَمْ لَا. He thinks to himself, did something leave me or did something not leave me? Did I pass wind or not? Prophet says, فَلَا يَخْرُجَنَّ أَوْ فَلَا يَنْصَرِفْ. Let him not turn around حَتَّى يَسْمَعَ صَوْتًا, until he hears the noise of either him passing wind, أَوْ يَجِدُ رِيحًا, or he smells a smell. What do we even get from that? And the ulama say you can derive a ruling, الْيَقِينُ لَا يَزُولُ بِشَكٍّ, that when you have certainty in something, so you're certain that you did wudu, then by you just having doubt, did I do wudu? The doubt doesn't affect, the doubt never ever affects certainty. Certainty and doubt are two different levels of what? Of comprehension or of affirmation. If you were 100% sure that something happened and 50% sure that something else happened, then you go with the 100%. Okay? إِن يَتَّبِعُونَ إِلَّا الظَّنَّ, they only follow dhann. Okay? And does anyone know the verse of the ayah? What? وَإِنَّ الظَّنَّ لَا يُغْنِي مِنَ الْحَقِّ شَيْئًا. Dhann, it can never take away from haqq. It can never enrich the haqq. Haqq is haqq, and dhann is just something you're thinking about. So even when it comes to ilm can help you in your entire life. So if you're a businessman, learn the fiqh of how you do business. If, for example, you want to study in a particular thing, is that thing that you're studying haram or halal? If you want to get married, is what you're doing halal or haram when it comes to getting married? Knowledge will help you as a Muslim. Now, the title was Knowledge and Iman. Al-Iman yazidu wa yanqus. It goes up and it goes down. If you do good deeds, your Iman will go up. If you do bad deeds, your Iman will go down. But there's a question. When it comes now to trying to gain Iman, you want to gain istiqamah. That's what you want. Istiqamah is different from just having high Iman. You can listen to this talk today and have high Iman, or you feel on a high. But the question is, if you want your Islam to be with you for your entire life, you need to gain something known as al-istiqamah, to be upright, for Islam to be in your bones every single day. Allah said, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ قَالُوا رَبُّنَا اللَّهُ ثُمَّ اسْتَقَامُوا تَتَنَزَّلُ عَلَيْهِمُ الْمَلَائِكَةُ أَنْ لَا تَخَافُوا وَلَا تَحْزَنُوا وَأَبْشِرُوا بِالْجَنَّةِ الَّتِي كُنْتُمْ تُوعَدُونَ. That those who say we believe in Allah and they have istiqamah, they're upright, then when it's time for them, Allah to take their lives away, تَتَنَزُّلُ عَلَيْهِمُ الْمَلَائِكَةُ أَلَّا تَخَافُوا. The malaika will come to that person and say, don't be sad, وَلَا تَحْزَنْ. لَا تَخَافُوا, don't be scared, وَلَا تَحْزَنْ. And don't be sad, وَأَبِشِّرُوا بِالْجَنَّةِ الَّتِي كُنْتُمْ تُوعَدُونَ. Be glad with the Jannah that you've been promised. And then Allah says, and then they said, نَحْنُ أَوْلِيَاؤُكُمْ فِي الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ. That we were with you, that we're going to be with you, we are awliya in the dunya, and even in the what do you call it, the afterlife will be there. So how do you gain istiqamah? What is istiqamah? Istiqamah is being upright in the religion. That's different from, feeling high, feeling low. But being upright. Okay. One person came to the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He said, Ya Rasulullah, O Messenger of Allah, قل لي قولا في الإسلام لا أسأل أحدا غيره. Say to me a statement in Islam I cannot ask anyone but you. Only you can answer it. The Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam gave him an answer. And that answer is a short answer. It's not a long answer. And this comes from what the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam had, which is known as Jawami'ul Kalim. Concise speech. It's very small what he said, but from that you can speak about what he said for days. It's just one sentence, but you can talk about it. It means so much. Despite its brevity, it means so much. What did the Messenger said? He said, قُلْ آمَنْتُ بِاللَّهِ ثُمَّ اسْتَقِمْ. He said, say, I believe in Allah and have istiqamah, be firm. What does that mean? That means that for your entire life, you're going to serve the religion of Islam. For your entire life, you're going to pray. For your entire life, you're not going to commit shirk with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. For your entire life, you're going to do sadaqah. For your entire life, you're going to be a practicing Muslim. Allah says in the Quran, قُلْ إِنَّ الصَّلَاةِ. Say my salah, وَنُسُكِ, my sacrifice, i.e. the religious sacrifice, وَمَحْيَايَ, my life, وَمَمَاتِ, and my death, لِلَّهِ رَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ, is for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, no partners with him. So, in order for a person to gain higher than that, you need to gain istiqamah. You need to be upright in your religion. So when it comes to practicing Islam, you need to look at it as a marathon and not a quick run. Obviously you know, mashallah, maybe many of you play sports. You know that, for example, a person who runs 100 meters. It's only 100 meters. So you have to run as fast as you can in the shortest amount of time, 100 meters, quickly. And then you've got people who they run marathons, 1,000 meters or 10,000 meters. They don't run at the same pace, do they? The people who run the 100 meters, it's a quick burst. The people who run 10,000 meters, they run slowly, but they're able to conserve all of their energy, but they run slowly. What does that mean? When it comes to Islam and you want to live and follow Islam, you have to follow it slowly, you have to follow it step by step, you have to walk before you can run. Shay'an fa shay'an, ruwaydan, bit by bit. A man came to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he said, أَرَأَيْتَ إِذَا صَلَّيْتُ الْمَكْتُوبَاتِ. Oh Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, do you see if I pray what Allah, the 5 daily prayers only? Okay, and then he said, وَأَصُومُ Ramadan. And I pray in the month of Ramadan. And then he said, وَأَحْلَلْتُ الْحَلَالِ وَأَحْرَمْتُ الْحَرَامِ. I make what's halal, halal, and I make what's haram, haram. And then he said something along the lines, وَلَمْ أَزِدْ عَلَى ذَلِكَ شَيْئًا. And I don't do anything more than that. أَدْخُلُ الْجَنَّةَ وَلَا أَنْتَ جَنَّةً. Rasulullah said, نعم. Meaning if you just pray your salawat on time, you fast, you learn about who Allah is, you learn the basics of your religion, and you take it step by step and build on it incrementally, you'll enter Al-Jannah. What you don't want is to do everything at once and then fall off. So now, when it comes to having high Iman, make Islam your life. Make your Islam your entire life. Waking up, you're thinking about Islam. When Dhuhr comes, you're thinking about Islam. When Asr comes, you're thinking about Islam. Every single thing you're doing, you're thinking about Islam. That's how it should be. That's how Muslims should be. الذين يذكرون الله قياما وقعودا وعلى جنوبهم. Those people that they remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala قياما, standing, وقعودا, sitting, وعلى جنوبهم, even lying down, they think about Allah. ويتفكرون في خلق السماوات والأرض. They're thinking, look at this dunya, look at the samawat, look at the heavens, and look at the earth. ربنا ما خلقت هذا باطلا سبحانك. Oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you didn't make this in falsehood. So many ayat Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala thinks about. Another thing, for example, when it comes to ilm, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, الأخلاء يومئذ بعضهم لبعض عدو إلا المتقين. Best friends in this dunya. Best friends in the dunya. Al-akhilla. What's akhilla? Akhilla is the plural, it's a jam of the word Khalid, best friend. On Yawm al-Qiyamah, best friends are going to be enemies, except for people that their best friends were in religion, were in taqwa. So if your friend is a friend that helps you worship Allah, is your friend in religion, then inshallah ta'ala, Yawm al-Qiyamah, he's not going to be your adu. However, if your friend, for example, is a person who doesn't show you the way, the sirat al-mustaqim, then he's not going to be your friend in Yawm al-Qiyamah, he's going to be your adu. So now you have to think about ilm, knowledge in your head. You have to ask yourself a question. If I keep so-and-so as my friend, he's doing haram, he's doing this, will he help me get to Al-Jannah? If he's not, you have to make a decision, you have to make a judgment call. But this is ilm. Ilm will allow you to think. You have to think critically. Okay? And then, by doing that, removing obstacles, this is how you get istiqamah. You facilitate Islam around your life. And you don't, Islam is your entire life. You facilitate your entire life around Islam, and you don't fit an Islamic time in your life. So the difference. If Islam is your entire life, then Salah is not an issue, for example. If Islam is your entire life, Salah is not an issue. Wherever you are, you pray. The Prophet ﷺ said, جُعِلَتْ لِي الْأَرْضُ مَسْجِدًا وَطَهُورًا. Allah made this whole dunya a masjid and it's pure and tahur. Meaning that if you're just walking somewhere, it's time for Salat al-Asr. I'm not saying to you now pray the mirror in front of everyone, but let's say you have nowhere to pray. You can find a quiet place, pray a Salat, Assalamu alaikum. Because you have ilm and you've made your life around Islam. You're going to wait now until the time goes and after you pray salawat. Or if you're sick and you can't pray and you're in pain, you don't have to force yourself to stand up and pray. You can pray on a chair, for example. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, "Salli qa'iman." Pray standing. فَإِن لَمْ تَسْتَطِعْ. If you can't, فَقَاعِدًا. Sit down. فَإِن لَمْ تَسْتَطِعْ. If you can't, فَعَلَى الْجَنْةِ. Pray lying down if you can't do that. So if you look at what the Prophet is saying, he's giving you a solution for every single person. The healthy person can stand. The person who's maybe got a bit of a joint pain or ailment, he can sit. And the person maybe chronically ill, he can pray lying down. But what's the shahid? You don't think about the mas'ala. Islam can be practiced by everyone. Everyone. So this is the shahid. If you can make Islam a part of your entire life, with balance, by the way, not imbalance. I'm not asking to be extreme. Balance. I'm not saying Allah said, وَلَا تَنْسَى نَصِيبَكُم مِّنَ الدُّنْيَا. Don't forget your health, your share of this world. I'm not saying go and don't live in the dunya. No. I'm saying balance. Once you find that balance, your iman will be higher. Allah will put barakah in your rizq. Allah will put barakah in your children. Allah will put barakah in your life. Inshallah ta'ala. Okay? And inshallah ta'ala, your iman will rise. You read the Quran, you pray Qiyamul Layl, you give sadaqah, and you do what's easy for you, for example. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will open up and make things easy for you. What did Allah say in the Quran? وَمَنْ يَتَّقِ اللَّهَ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا. Whoever fears Allah, Allah make a way out. وَيَرْزُقُهُ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَحْتَسِبُ. And He will give him risk from places where he will never imagine. وَمَنْ يَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ فَهُوَ حَسْبُهُ. Whoever has tawakkul on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he's enough for him. I remember one time, for example, I'll give you a story. I was flying to a particular country, a Muslim country, but I had to go there quickly. And my wallet was lost. I lost my wallet. It had everything. I had my license, it had my ID, it had everything in it. I lost even my bank card. I lost my bank card. By the time I got to Heathrow Airport, I realised everything was gone. The only thing I had was a £5 note. And I was starving. I went to Costa, I got the pasta, the broccoli, whatever it is, the cheese pasta. That's all I had. I had nothing. I just had this. I just knew that the country that I'm going to, there's free internet in the airport. I had nothing. Everything's gone. Even my wallet, everything. But I know that the country I'm going to, they're Muslim. So even though it's the airport, because it's a Muslim country, you can talk to people. Not like the UK where everything is 100% by the book. I know that the Muslim people, so I arrived at that country with nothing but my passport. So I went to, can you imagine? What do you call it? I passed through the immigration, they stamped my thing, and then, you know when they look at your bags, security, they're looking through my bag. I said, I come from the UK, I showed my passport, I said, listen, where I came from, I lost everything. I don't have anything, a penny. I don't even have a taxi to get to my destination. I have nothing. I said, look, Sheikh, give me something so I can get from A to B. I have someone that I'm going to meet in the city that I was in. Just give me money so I can catch a taxi for him. Just money for a taxi, nothing else. MashaAllah. What did he do? He pretended to look at the passport, went into a room, put money in the passport, gave him a passport, and just left it. Khalas, in Muslim country, alhamdulillah, I said, Khalid. You know, here I would have been suffering, I don't know what I have to do. But the shahid is that, I'm not saying I have taqwa, but when you fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you'll find situations. And Allah will help you in difficult situations. When you have nothing, Allah will help you. Okay? What does Allah say in the Quran? In tansurullaha yansurkum wa yuthabbit aqdamakum. That if you, if you give victory to Allah, if you aid His religion, yansurkum, He will aid you. وَيُثَبِّتْ أَقْدَامَكُمْ. Now, look at this. Allah says, إِن تَنْصُرُوا اللَّهَ يَنْصُرْكُمْ. In the Arabic language, this is a jumla shartiyya. This is a conditional sentence. It's a jumla shartiyya. It's a clausal sentence, conditional sentence, meaning that if you want Allah to help you, you have to help Him. There's a condition, there's a shart. إِن تَنْصُرُوا اللَّهَ يَنْصُرْكُمْ. If you help Allah, Allah will help you. ماذا نفهم من ذلك? What do you understand from that? If you don't aid Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's religion, you won't get help from Him. You will only get help if you help Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's religion. So if you don't aid Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's religion, you won't get help. I remember a jahil cab driver picked me up one day in London. Again, I was coming back from Heathrow Airport, another Heathrow Airport still, but this time I was in London. So I had some currency from the country that I was coming back from. I needed to exchange the money. So I think it was a Sunday, but because obviously it's a Muslim, they work on Sundays. I went to go and change the money. Every area, like near Edgware Road, it's a place with a lot of Muslims. Everywhere was closed. Everywhere was closed, right? The cab driver took me there. I got off the car, I found everyone was closed. So I used Uber again. I said, and I found a shop, and then after maybe 10 minutes away, I jumped in the same cab again. He took me to the place. So I said, Alhamdulillah. He's Muslim himself, so he's talking to me. I said, Alhamdulillah. I said, Sheikh, I said, everywhere I go, I said to him, every time I find myself in a predicament, in a difficult situation, Allah always helps me. That's what I said to him. And he said to me, MashaAllah, you're one of the lucky ones. What kind of kalam is this? You're one of the lucky ones, and there's Khalid in your Islam. There's something wrong in your Islam. If this happened to you, what kind of jahil? You're one of the lucky ones. What kind of kalam is this? Even a mu'min with no money will never say this kind of kalam. Look at this tatawul. He thinks what kind of person will say that? If he says that, then he's not giving Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala his haqq. Because if you give Allah His haqq, Allah will always help you. You will never be left behind. And I'm sure all of you have stories like similar to mine where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has helped you. So the shahid is, we don't want to take your time too long. The shahid is that, or what we're trying to speak about is that, believe in Allah, follow His message, follow what the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam example. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran, لَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ. Follow His example. The Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has the best example. Follow His religion. Okay, and if you don't know anything, فَإِن تَنَازَعْتُمْ فِي شَيْءٍ فَرَدُّوهُ إِلَى اللَّهِ وَالرَّسُولِ. If you differ in anything, go back to Allah and His Messenger. Meaning, go back to Him when He's alive. If He's alive, now that He's dead, go back to the Quran, go back to the Sunnah, see what the scholars say, and follow His example. Have ilm, and inshallah ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will guide you to Islam. Allah will give you good Iman, and inshallah ta'ala you will live a hayatan kareema, a lovely, good, honest life, inshallah ta'ala. But we're not going to take it too long. We'll open the floor just for a few questions, and then inshallah ta'ala, we'll let you guys go, inshallah ta'ala. Barakallahu feekum. Does anyone have any questions? Inshallah ta'ala. Somebody must have something. Once somebody asks, everyone wants to ask, and I'm football.
You mentioned the faridah of Hajj. Do you have to do Hajj or can you do Umrah?
Okay, so Hajj, a person must do Hajj. Umrah and Hajj are separate. But, okay, so Umrah and Hajj are separate. Now, Allah says in the Quran, وَأَتِمُّ الْحَجَّ وَالْعُمْرَةَ لِلَّهِ. Complete Hajj and Umrah. But, now Hajj is a pilgrimage, in English it's a pilgrimage. And now Hajj shay, Umrah shay. Hajj is something, Umrah something. Umrah is that has some of everything that you do in Hajj, everything you do in Umrah, you do in Hajj, but Hajj is a few more actions, but they're different. So Umrah can be done in 2 hours, 3 hours. Yeah, it's very easy. You go to Mecca, what do? You do tawaf. You do tawaf to Mecca, you do tawaf around Jazakallah khair. You go to Mecca, you land in Mecca. I'll do it all right. In fact, let's just to break it down, the difference between Umrah and Hajj. And many of you know this, don't worry, inshallah, but we're all here to learn, even for myself, it reminds me. You land in Saudi, before you get to Mecca, you'll go to something called the Miqat, a particular place where you start your Umrah. You get into the state of it being in Ihram, and then you make an intention to fall into Umrah, to do Umrah. You go to Mecca, you go to Masjid al-Haram, you do Tawaf 7 times. Tawaf 7, you go around the Kaaba 7 times. After that, you can pray 2 rak'at in front of Maqam Ibrahim. And then you do Sa'i. You go back and forth, and then you shave your head, and Assalamu alaikum. It's basically done. And when you go to anyone who's been there and done it, you're surprised how they cut your hair. It's so quick. They get some shampoo, they wet your whole hair, then after in 2 seconds you're finished. Go. Assalamu alaikum. One time they cut my head, even the white stuff out of my brain was coming out. So I did not my brain, but I had the white flesh in my head. So I was just trying to watch myself bleeding. I said, inshallah, Allah forgive me. You ever done something haram? I don't know. So now I'm sitting there, I put more water. You need more water in my head. You need more water. My head, you put on a little bit of water for 15 riyal. So now, but the shahid is that with Hajj now, Hajj is more. Hajj, you have to go to Muzdalifah, Mina, you have to do tawaf, you have to throw the jamarat, the rocks, you have to slaughter. So there's a few more things, but they're different. But the thing is that when you do Hajj, there's different types of Hajj. Some Hajj, before you start your Hajj, you can do Umrah and things like that. So there's a few changes. But Umrah and Hajj, very similar. Hajj is about 5 days. There's a few different things you do. But inshallah, if you go with a tour guide, it'll be very easy. Or even just follow like a course online. Hajj is very easy, inshallah ta'ala. So now, some ulama, they say even Umrah is wajib if you can do it. But Hajj is a pillar from Islam. So now, Hajj is a pillar of Islam. And if a person has the ability to do Hajj, they should try to do Hajj, inshallah, because Hajj is not easy. Hajj is not that it's not pain, it's not impossible, but some people, they think, I'm going to work my entire life and then I'm going to get to 65 and do Hajj. Doing Hajj at 65, there's no problem. You want to do Hajj when you're able-bodied. You don't want to do Hajj when you're old and people are pushing you. And you want to do it able-bodied. Do you understand? But obviously, this is on the account of you being able to do it. This is if you don't have no money, then you don't do it. You don't. لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. So if a person's able to do it, then let him do it. Inshallah ta'ala. Nah.
So does that count as one Hajj or the first Hajj?
Oh, so once you do one Hajj, every other Hajj you do is considered Sunnah, meaning that it's not wajib for you, it's not wajib anymore. Meaning that first Hajj is Hajjul Fariḍah. It's the Hajj that if you don't do any other Hajj, khalas, there's nothing upon you. So none of your family have to do Hajj on your behalf or anything like that.
You know how if you do Hajj, Umrah during the month of Ramadan is equivalent to...
Yes, equivalent to doing Hajj.
Do you have to do Hajj again?
Yes, so it's equivalent to Hajj in reward. Only in reward. So it's equivalent to Hajj, but it doesn't take away, it doesn't technically mean that you've done Hajj, no. It's like, for example, someone saying, is it Surah where is it? Surah what's Surah Al-Ikhlas? Was it Surah Al-Quran? Is it Surah Al-Ikhlas, right? That is a third of the Quran. It doesn't mean now, for example, somebody here is reading all of the Quran, and then you say, MashaAllah, Qul huwa Allahu ahad, Allahu samad, and you walk out the masjid, and you think, no, he's getting more hasanat. It means in reward. In reward, it's equal in reward. But remember, even when it comes to reward, Allah can give you more reward. Allah can multiply your reward. So you've read Surah Al-Ikhlas, it's like reading a third of the Quran. But this person has read more than Surah Al-Ikhlas. So his reward is maybe, it's as if maybe he's read the Quran maybe 1,000 times. You kind of understand? So na'am. So it doesn't mean now that on technical things, so na'am. So on the point of technicality, if you do Umrah in Ramadan, it doesn't mean you've done Hajj, and that Hajj is no longer wajib upon you. It means that you've gained the reward, so you've got the same reward.
One of the brothers was on my street asking questions. What do you say to brothers who are in a rush to get married? That's not true.
The Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, يا معشر الشباب من استطاع منكم الباءة فليتزوج فإنه أغض للبصر وأحصن للفرج. And Rasulullah said that, oh young assembly of youth, whoever from you is available to get married, then let him marry. فإنه أغض للبصر. It's going to help you lower your gaze. وأحصن للفرج. It's going to help your private parts as well. You're not going to do anything crazy. When you're young and you're not married, you're going to do something crazy. And Allah said, what the Messenger of Allah go and say after, وَمَنْ لَمْ يَسْتَطِعْ فَعَلَيْهِ بِالصَّوْمِ. Whoever's not able to, let him fast. فَإِنَّهُ لَهُ وِجَاء. Because it's going to be a shield for him. Now, who can fast 10? It's difficult to fast 365 days of the year because you're not married. What's the solution? If a person is able to marry, let him marry. Marriage, Allah will bring rizq. Allah will bring awlad. Allah will bring more, Allah will give you rizq for your awlad, for your children. Responsibility. The more responsibility you get, the more mature you become. Marriage has several benefits. If a person is able to get married, if a person is unable to get married, then لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. Then you're not able to do that. But now, if a person is able to get married, think about getting married. Wallahi, your trajectory in life will go up if you get married. The way in which your outlook on life will become, you become more mature, everything if you get married. So I would say if a person is able to get married, has a financial capacity, his family will support him, so on and so forth, get married. It's a problem. Because if you're single for too long, it's another problem. Then you get to 29, 30, 31, 33, and then you start becoming scared of marriage, and then you just become a bachelor for your whole entire life. So you have to hit the eye when it's hot. Nah, there's nothing to be afraid of. You're rajul. You have the quwwah. And you're the sahib rajul. Nah. If you want to get married, you should get 2, 3, 4 if we live in a Muslim country. What can you do? Some people, they go to different countries. Sorry? Yeah. Any other questions?
No, Sheikh, what advice would you give us regarding seeking knowledge in this country and the way it should be done?
Seeking knowledge in this country, I mean, when it comes to seeking knowledge, the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, إِنَّمَا الْعِلْمُ بِالتَّعَلُّمِ. Indeed, knowledge is by making an effort to learn. So, any place, whether you're here, whether you're in any part of the world, when it comes to trying to learn your religion, then you should always try to learn from the people in your local area first. So learn from your local teachers, learn from, people who have classes going on. And then once you exhaust that, you can move on to different towns, different countries. And alhamdulillah, because of the internet, there's many, many ways a person can learn knowledge. I personally would advise, if somebody wants to be serious, to try to learn the Arabic language. And then the Arabic language is a miftah, it's a key, miftah al-ilm. And then from there, you can learn, and so now, if a person can learn the Arabic language, that's a good thing. And if not, then listen to classes, read books, attend lectures, attend duruus, muhadarat. There's many things a person can do in this country, inshallah. It's getting better. In the UK, it's getting much, much better, alhamdulillah, in comparison to how it used to be. MashaAllah, ask the elders here. The Islamic presence in the UK is getting better and better, inshallah ta'ala. So, alhamdulillah, there's khayr and barakah, inshallah. But now, to learn, to make a conscious effort to learn. So now, but Sheikh, you're from a city of knowledge. You're from a city of a lot of ulama and scholars. So alhamdulillah. But I know it's also for everyone. So try to learn the Arabic language. Try to memorize Quran. Try to learn as much as you can, and ask those people who have knowledge to guide you in the correct direction. Inshallah ta'ala, you will get there. Inshallah ta'ala. Do we have any other questions? Inshallah ta'ala. Yes.
Sheikh, is it possible to attain high level of piety with ignorance?
Oh, good question. Is it possible to gain a very high level of piety with ignorance? Can you be a person with no knowledge and gain a very high level of piety? Well, you can, because in the sense where knowledge is one way of gaining piety. There's many abwab of taqwa. Some people's bad meaning doors. There's many doors to taqwa. Some people can fast. Some people can give sadaqah. Some people can do al-amr bil-ma'ruf wa nahy 'anil munkar. They enjoy the good, they forbid the evil. Some people, they're very strong with ibadah. Some people, they're very strong when it comes to seeking knowledge. Of course, 100%. If a person has taqwa, his piety, and he has knowledge, it's a bonus. However, as for saying that a person cannot get to a very high level of taqwa except with ilm, then of course he needs to have some level of ilm. He can't have no ilm, because if you have no ilm, you're going to be doing things which are jahl or things which are forbidden. So you need to have a certain level, you need to have a qadr min al-ilm. You need to have some type of knowledge, you need to have some level of ilm, some type of knowledge. You don't have to have a high amount of knowledge, but kayfa yusalli, kayfa yuzakki, kayfa yasum, kayfa yahuj. He needs to know al-ma'loom min al-deen bil-darura. He needs to know the clear, essential parts of his religion. And then, inshallah ta'ala, from there he can gain, inshallah ta'ala, a high level of piety. But if you look at the Sahaba, the best Sahaba, they had ilm. Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu had ilm, Umar had ilm, Uthman radiallahu anhu had ilm, and Ali radiallahu anhu had ilm. Messenger sallallahu said, Aqba ummati Ali. The one that's the best at judging my ummah is Ali. Okay? So all those people had ilm. The best of them had ilm. And even there's even a hadith, for example, of Salman al-Farisi and Abu Darda. Abu Darda was a companion. He was a Ansari. He was one of the people of Medina. He would work, he would do Qiyamul Layl, he would do so much, and then he'll be so fatigued, so tired. And then Salman al-Farisi said, your badan alayk haqqan, or just do alayk haqqan, or kada alayk haqqan, give, and everything has a right upon you. Then he said, fa'ati kulla dhi haqqin haqqa, fa'ati kulla dhi haqqin haqqa. Give every single part of your body its right. Don't do Qiyamul Layl all night, and then after you can't wake up for Fajr. Don't give sadaqah all the money away, you have no one to help your family. فَأَعْطِ كُلَّ ذِي حَقٍّ حَقَّهُ. Give everything that's right. So even sometimes, like you said, if a person is so pious, he has no knowledge, he can sometimes even destroy himself. So you need to have al-qadr, al-wajib, and al-ilm. You need to have at least a certain level of knowledge. Inshallah ta'ala, it will be from Ahl Taqwa, inshallah ta'ala. No. Yes.
So Iman isn't the same as Islam. So it's like it's all every mu'min is Muslim, but not every mu'min.
We mean when I say that Iman is from Islam in a technical sense, من ناحية أو من ناحية اصطلاحية, from an اصطلاحي perspective, they mean different things when they're mentioned in different, when they're mentioned in the same sentence. So, for example, the Hadith Jibreel said, أخبرني عن الإسلام. Prophet gave him a particular answer. Then when he said, أخبرني عن الإيمان, gave him a particular answer. So when it comes now to a Muslim, now there's levels of Iman. So every mu'min is a Muslim. Yes, every believer is a Muslim, but not every Muslim is a believer, like you said, because a believer, to be a believer is a high status. You have to have a high level of Iman. قالت الأعراب آمنا. The Arab said that we believe, that we believe. What did Allah say? قل لا تؤمنوا قل لم تؤمنوا وقولوا أسلمنا ولما يدخل الإيمان في قلوبكم. Because Iman, or the state of being a mu'min, has not yet entered your heart. So now, do we have any other questions, inshallah ta'ala? Any other questions about Islam, about the topic or anything, before we wrap things up?
Let's say from the sisters.
Okay, so now quickly, inshallah ta'ala. If they do, they can, if you've got pen and paper, quickly write it down. Nothing? Nothing? Okay, inshallah ta'ala. نكتفي بهذا القدر وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين.